Good morning, everyone. That's a perfect song today because today is match day in Milwaukee. Yep, that's why we're wearing these t-shirts. That's right. In just a little bit, we're going to talk about more. We're going to talk more about why giving a little bit can help a lot. If you were listening to that song. But first up today, we're going to start our show with an important and urgent message for parents from a young man who knows all too well the dangers that kids face.
David Poplinski is now the CEO of his own speaking company. He's come a long way. He was a super skilled soccer player at Marquette University High School and later got a big scholarship to play at St. Louis University. At the same time, he was using and selling drugs. He smoked marijuana before and after school, drank almost every day, and regularly used prescription pills. About 8 years ago, he hit rock bottom, got help, and sobered up. Today, he lives to tell his story and help other kids, and we are so happy that David agreed to join us on the show today.
Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
We've corresponded on Twitter. It's nice to finally meet you in person.
Yeah,
it was just your birthday a little while ago.
It was March 5th, actually.
You turned 29.
29.
You've lived a hard life as just a 29-year-old. You've been through some stuff.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to my next life.
Yeah. It's been how long? Molly asked you during the break that you've been sober.
I've went to rehab when I was 21 and have been sober since, so it's going on just over 8 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's awesome. At what age did you start using? What did it start with, marijuana or alcohol?
It started with marijuana, and I first started using when I was 13 years old.
13.
How does a 13-year-old get marijuana?
Through actually just a group of friends that I had been hanging out with for a long time and had actually found it in one of my friend's parents' bedrooms.
No way.
Yep, so that's how I got first introduced to it.
Did you like it right away?
I was scared. It was my first interaction with any sort of drugs, and I think just being a curious preteen, was interested and wanted to see what it felt like, and unfortunately I loved it.
Well, and all your friends were doing that as well.
Absolutely.
Did parents know? Even the parent who you stole it from?
No, they had no clue. Parents of my friends, my parents, and other family members had no idea that I had been using for years.
They didn't notice changes in your behavior? Or?
They noticed some changes in my behavior, more so with the group of friends I started hanging out with, but as an athlete, an elite athlete, I was busy all the time. I was playing soccer 7 days a week, and it was easy to, kind of hide it from my parents. And, as parents, you always have the curiosity, is my kid just being a teenager, or does he actually have a real issue to deal with?
When did you start drinking alcohol then?
I started drinking alcohol when I was probably 14.
Where'd you get it?
In a parent's basement. Yep. So
really?
Yep. Parents were gone out of town, and they left their liquor unlocked, and had some friends over. And
you mentioned being an elite athlete. There's a lot of pain that comes with being an athlete at your level. So you started probably taking prescription drugs for pain relief.
Correct. And I've had 4 broken bones in my knee, so I've had 4 major surgeries, which all led to extensive rehabilitation. And through that, started taking prescription pills. And
what? What did you take?
Took a lot of oxycodone, Percocet, Vicodin, anything that was going to change my mindset. But at the level of an athlete that I was, the access to the drug was very easy for me to obtain.
How, when you say it's easy to obtain, why was it easy as an athlete? I would think that you were getting it through people who were selling, but were you getting it through legitimate channels?
I was getting it through legitimate channels, and I, as a addict, we're smart, conniving people, and I had certain ways of getting what I wanted when I wanted, and had figured out the system and knew how to bypass certain laws and even fool my doctors into thinking that I actually needed them. But in the long run, it ended up being, detrimental to my future.
How many prescription drugs? Because I think this is one that your parents probably didn't think much about. Apparently, the people that you were buying from, you learned how to work around. How many were you taking a day? Do you recall?
In the beginning, it started off just as the normal dosage because I was taking them for legitimate pain reasons. And I had no consequences when I started taking them, and I really enjoyed taking them, obviously, because I had previous problems with drugs and alcohol. And with the addition of alcohol while taking the prescription pills, it just escalated and increased the high that it provided me. And I was probably taking anywhere from 5 to 10 prescription pills a day.
A day.
Yep, when the normal dose is usually 2 pills within a 24-hour period.
In your teens.
Correct.
And you're not a huge guy.
No.
I mean, you were an athlete, but you probably had very little body fat. I mean, to be using and consuming all of those drugs and alcohol, how did you, because you had good grades too.
Correct.
And that's one of the people that I know who works with young people, alcohol and drugs, so it's sort of this new population of addicts are smart kids who come from good families, who are very often athletes, well-liked, popular.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're a good-looking kid. I mean, how does it happen?
I just think that in most cases, as you become increasingly better and better in your sport, people start to take a look at what you can do for them. And they forget to take a look at the person that you are, and they, even though you may have problems, if you're still performing at a certain level and you're still providing the end outcome of what they really need is performance, if you're able to still participate in any of your extracurricular activities, good, bad, or indifferent, in my case bad, they tend to look the other way.
Yeah, they assume that you must be fine.
Correct.
So let's kind of break it down a little bit for parents too. You know, what could your parents have done or said, if there's anything, or what do you tell parents they can do for their kids, and how bad did it get for you? You know, at some point you started selling.
Correct.
It got really bad. You had people coming after you.
Right.
You were pistol whipped.
I was pistol whipped and robbed.
Robbed. A friend ran over you.
Correct.
With the Nissan Pathfinder.
Absolutely.
You were passed out in a parking lot.
Correct, and he ran over my hip all the way over my rib cage, over my heart, and I had tire marks actually on my collarbone.
Dude.
Wow.
I know,
It's
very
amazing
lucky.
you survived.
I know. So, but in reference to your question, I think my parents did a great job. You know, I had wonderful parents, and they always went out of their way to talk about the important issues, you know, in any adolescent's life, and we were always very open in our family. But I think as you start to learn the intricacies of an addict's mind, you really understand that they are smart people, because not only do they have to fool the ones that they love and care about the most, but they also have to watch out for the law. So my day from start to finish was precisely calculated. When I could use drugs, how I could function while I was driving a car, going to school, going to practice, hiding it from my parents. So, I mean, if you think about that, on top of what you think about on a daily basis already, trying to figure all that out into the equation, it makes for a difficult time not to hide it from anybody.
You eventually went to inpatient rehab. Your parents
Correct.
never gave up on you, did they?
No, absolutely not. And you know, to be honest, I would not be here without my parents' continued support. They did everything in their power to make sure that I was able to continue my lifestyle, whether it was in soccer or not. They wanted to give me the best opportunity post-sports to live the best life I could.
So if there's one takeaway for parents, what can they do if they suspect their kids are using a drug?
I would say don't be afraid to be invasive of their privacy. I mean, you are their parent. Your job is to ensure their safety, and if your kids are going to get mad at you regardless, right? They're teenagers. Right. So, I mean, if you overstep the boundaries and you feel the need to go through their cell phones and their rooms and their cars and wonder who they're hanging out with, I mean, you have absolutely every single right to do so. So I think just being persistent and having that open communication and communicating to your kid prior to saying, you know, these are how the rules in our household are going to go, and you're going to abide by them, you know, and if you set that standard in the beginning, I think the conversations tend to go a little bit more smoothly, because, as you know, kids adversely react and defend themselves usually when they're doing something wrong. So
I bet you have a lot of impact, because I know you speak to kid groups, schools all the time, and I bet because you're still so young, they'll listen to you more than a parent or a teacher or a guidance counselor or a principal or whatever.
I think so, because I I don't usually even wear this. I mean, this is dressed up for a speaking engagement for myself. You know, I'll go in and I'll wear jeans and, you know, a nice shirt, but I look like them, I talk like them. You know, I grew up in Germantown, so they're very familiar with the type of background I come from, so it's nice, I think, for them to hear from somebody they can relate to.
Good for you.
Yeah,
It's
congratulations
great to have
on
you.
turning everything
thank you.
around
I
and
appreciate
doing
it.
something good for other people. If you'd like to hire David, here's his information to have him come to your school, your group. David Peplinski, 262-853-0427 or RFA Speaking. He's got great ways to help you understand how to do team workshops as well as raise funds to have him come and speak at your school.
And one thing is cool is if you speak to neighboring schools or schools close in the same community, you'll do a drastically discounted rate for your speaking, which is great. So if you can team up with another school in your area, that's great.
Yep,
Thanks, David.
absolutely.
Really
Thank
cool
you
to
so
talk
much.
to you.
I
Thanks
appreciate
so
you for
much.
having me.
Yeah, congratulations
Thank
to
you.
you.